Hello and welcome back to the Frugal Granny UK channel. I'm Ali, or Frugal Granny. I'm a 64.5-year-old pre-retiree and I'm retiring from HE administration in the UK at the end of June. I set up this channel to document my final preparations for that leap, which in my case was a little bit spontaneous and unplanned, and how I cope with a reduced income once I have made that leap. If you want to know a little bit more about me, you can go back to the beginning of my uploads and watch Hello, I'm Frugal Granny UK. Hopefully that will answer some of your questions. If you're new here, you're really very welcome. I also probably need to mention that I've run an Instagram account for a number of years, and you can find me over there at Frugal Granny UK. I tend to document my garden, frugal recipes, shopping hauls, etc, etc. I can't put those things on YouTube at the moment because I have to admit my editing skills are next to none. But as soon as I've actually retired and I've had a chance to try and teach myself some things, hopefully we can have some of those hauls and other things clipped into a video over here as well. I had wanted to talk to you about a specific topic today, but the last two videos that I've put up on pensions and the follow-up on that, I think it was my pension prognosis and have I opened Pandora's box, they have surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly, prompted a lot of comments and suggestions. And so what I've decided to do today, rather than present the material that I had prepared, is just continue to answer a few of those questions that have come up. So hopefully we can draw a bit of a line under that for now, and describe some of the things that have happened this week that have moved me along my journey towards retirement. So, you know, not everything is a big milestone. Sometimes a week can be full of little victories that get you a little bit closer to where you want to be. So I've got a few things written on my notebook, so forgive me if I sort of look down. I've also got a cup of tea rather than a coffee, but this is a coffee and catch up because it alliterates, and I thought that would make a nice thumbnail. Okay, first things first, I'm called Ali, and thank you very much for all of you who've addressed me by name in the comments. Let me just say my name is spelt A-L-I-E. It's a little bit unusual, but that's just the way it is. When I was sent away to school, and it probably won't surprise you that I was sent away to an English boarding school, I probably sound like it, there were two Alisons in my class at school, and I think I was starting to be called Ali by that stage, and to distinguish between the two of us, my Scottish house mistress put an E on the end of my name. So there was Ali without an E, and there was Ali with an E. So I was Ali with an E, and it's rather stuck all my life, and I rather like it because, you know, when you sign your name with fancy cursive writing, it looks a bit more balanced, I think, a little bit more curly and fancy. So I'm Ali with an E. And I've probably been Ali with an E since I was about 11. Before that, to be honest with you, I was probably Alison, or a nickname that my parents gave me. So that little thing out of the way. Second thing I just would like to clarify is that when I retire, not going to work is actually not going to save me any money. I set up my current employment situation in such a way that I don't have any commuting costs. I go to work on a bicycle. I cycle there and I cycle back. The only thing that costs me is maybe the odd puncture repair every month or so, which is about £11, and I'm willing to stand that. Yeah, I cycled rain, snow, heat, whatever for 9 years, and that has been my free exercise as well. So I'm not going to save any commuting costs when I stop work. I am not going to save any lunch costs or coffee costs because I do not buy coffee at work. It's far too expensive. I either take my own or make one in the department common room. I do not buy lunch. I have packed lunch and taken it with me every day for 9 years, except for the odd occasion when we've had to go out for a team meal or something. And that has saved me an absolute fortune. Even since I started working at the supermarket and probably could get my lunch a little bit cheaper at that branch near my office, I've not done it. So I'm not going to save on commuting or coffee or lunch. And I'm not actually even going to save that much on office clothing, because over the last year or so, I've actually slowly changed my wardrobe to become more casual, more comfortable for my age. I don't like tight things. I used to wear, quite sort of fitted bodycon dresses with high heels when I worked in London. But those days are well and truly over, and I'm not into wanting to turn heads anymore. So I wear what's comfortable for me. I've transitioned my wardrobe over the last year or so. So the things that I was wearing to the office, I will probably be wearing into my retirement. So actually, I'm not going to save any work-based costs when I retire. So I hope that answers that question. I've been living very frugally for the last 10 years, and that was one way that I was living frugally. In terms of clothing, that prompts another thing. I have managed to sell some of my older work clothing on Vinted this week. I've made 3 sales on Vinted this week, which I'm really pleased about. So that will come in at about £38, I think. I've sold a sundress, a fit and flare summer office dress, and a lovely Indian hand-blocked print dress that I used to wear over 10 years ago and just hadn't got the heart to get rid of until now, because I absolutely loved it. But there's no way I'm going to be a size 14 again. So that one has gone as well. And when it comes to Vinted, I've actually bought something on Vinted as well this week, which I think with the buyer protection and postage and packing has cost me about £11.50. And it's a lovely black full-length dress from Mela in London, or Mela, I'm not sure quite how you say it. It's got a nice scooped neckline that's quite modest, and the bodice is embellished with beads and black lace. And the reason I've bought that is because I'm planning to go to a university reunion in July, and I shall probably wear that to the reunion if it fits. If it doesn't, I'm not going to cry for the sake of £11.50 at this stage. The last time I went to one of those reunions, I bought a dress that was a 3-figure sum. That actually ended up actually, I think I've still got that one. Yeah, I've not got rid of that one yet, because, sometimes it's nice to pull things out of the wardrobe and just have a few wistful memories, actually. So I've made a purchase on Vinted as well. So what else have I been doing this week? Well, obviously, let's just go back to the whole pension thing again. One thing that a lot of people have asked is, have I had a pension-wise appointment? And yes, I have had a pension-wise appointment, because initially I had planned to take the pension that I'm still trying to sort out. I had planned to take that when I reach 65 in November. And at that point I had decided I would continue working after 65. But things have changed a lot in the interim, and I'm now taking that pension early. I don't need to have another pension-wise appointment to qualify to draw on that pension. But yes, I have had a pension-wise appointment. And I have to be honest with you, it was an awful experience. I don't know whether I just drew the short straw with the advisor, but I felt incredibly condescended to throughout that appointment, and that made me quite defensive, and got to the point where I just wanted the interview to be over so I could put a tick in the box to say to my pension administrator, yeah, I've had a pension-wise appointment. So I don't know if I'm eligible to have another one. It would be nice if I am, but I probably am not. I'm sure this isn't everybody's experience, but I just had not a terribly good experience with that, which is sad actually, because it probably could have helped. But I want to thank you for all your comments because they have been good. And I'm not sure when it was it 2 or 3 days ago? I was reading through the Pension Wise booklet that I've got and did a very careful study of the annuity types that might be available to me with the pension that I still need to sort out. And at the moment, I am looking at taking the 25% tax-free sum and a fixed term annuity followed by a guaranteed lump sum at the end. There are reasons why I want to do this. I mean, these annuities, I think, are built to suit your own circumstances, so it's not like one size fits all. I will be quite blunt and say that I have an appointment with a consultant at the hospital next week, and depending on what they say my prognosis is, that will depend on how long the fixed term annuity will last. I'm thinking 15 years, but I may decide to reduce it to 10 depending on what they say. What do I want the lump sum for at the end? Well, I want it for funeral expenses because I don't want my kids left having to stand those expenses until probate on the house and my estate goes through. If I live longer than 10 or 15 years, that's fine. I'll take that money, and yes, I know I will probably have to pay tax on it. We have to pay tax on everything. And I will probably put that in an account called funeral expenses. No, I have not bought a funeral plan up front. I have looked into them. They are expensive. And I think this thing that I'm trying to pursue at the moment, it might be the answer to that, to get a sort of increased payment every month and then get a lump sum at the end that will help pay to tidy up for me when push comes to shove. We don't like to talk about these things, but unfortunately it comes to us all in the end. And hopefully I can update you maybe this time next week about what my consultant said. But last time I spoke to her, which was a year ago, she said 15 years. So yeah, but I didn't like the sound of the letter I got 2 or 3 weeks ago, so I'm just holding that lightly at the moment. So what else has happened this week? On the renovations front on the house, I've had the glass in my front door replaced with glass that's been sandblasted with a Victorian pattern. It looks really, really nice, and I'm absolutely thrilled with it. The one unexpected thing about that is when he gave me the quote over the phone, he didn't tell me that it didn't include the VAT. So of course I've had to pay a little bit extra for the VAT. But you know, I think if he told me how much it was with VAT, I think I might have wobbled and backed off a bit. But so I'm actually glad he didn't tell me, because it's done now and I'm paid for it. Okay, don't criticize me. I've thrown it on my credit card for now, because that will buy me an extra 4 weeks before I have to dig into my saver and clear that. So I'll get an extra 4 weeks money on that, interest on that amount of money. And also it means another supermarket payday will have come and gone by then, which means I can use the money I hope to set aside from that to cover the extra £150 that I hadn't anticipated. Right, so that was the glass front door. What else has happened this week? Oh yes, I've had to start looking for house insurance quotes. I pay my house insurance once a year, and that time of the year is coming up. I've had a few quotes, but I'm not going to take any of them yet, because they won't be valid until the date I need to pay. So it's mid-July I need the policy to start. So maybe this weekend I can revisit some of those quotes, get them renewed, and I might be able to put those in place. And again, that will go on my credit card, and it will be paid for from my annual expenses sinking fund. So I put money aside every month towards house insurance. So that money is sat there waiting. The quote I've had is a little bit more than last year. I mean, I've been through a comparison website as well, and I could actually cut the costs of my insurance considerably, but I'm choosing to go with the provider that I've chosen, basically because I'm familiar with them. Their customer service is excellent. It includes extras that some of the cheaper policies don't. So by the time I've added them on, it would probably come to the same thing anyway. So house insurance, buildings and contents, that's in the pipeline. And yes, they will cover the big tree that belongs to the council, that is on a bit of land down the road and could hit my house if the wind's blowing in the wrong direction. So yeah, that's all fine. What else has happened? I'm really pleased. I've now managed to get my P60 for my supermarket job. So I've got all my P60s in place now for doing my tax return for the 24 to 25 tax year. So that's another job now that needs doing. Just putting all the data into a spreadsheet, collecting the PDFs into a file. And at this point, I will admit to you, I do have an accountant. I send all that information to him and he does it for me. He's a long-standing friend, and I don't want to go into a discussion about accountants' fees and this, that and the other. That's the way I do it. It's the way I choose to do it. It's like some people choose to have their nails done. I don't. Some people choose to go to the hairdressers every month. I don't. I choose to have an accountant. Okay, so that's also fantastic. The other thing that's been good this week is I've managed to pick up a couple of extra shifts on the Extra Hours app at the supermarket, and they are for June. So I'm really, really pleased about that, because what I'm wanting to do in June is to try and put some money on one side to act as a buffer for paying myself my sort of monthly allowance or salary or whatever you call it once we get to the end of July. And it also means that those two shifts will, actually I could look at it this way anyway, those two shifts will clear the, well, just about clear the VAT on the glass for the front door. So that's fine. So I'm really pleased about those. And then another thing has happened that I think bears on a lot of the comments that that you've made on my last two videos, and that is monetization on YouTube. I've had a few comments actually that I've deleted because they've been, oh, like she's only doing this because she wants to get money from the advert revenue. Well, of course, why do you think someone like me would start a channel unless they were trying to bring in a little bit of extra income? Let's get real, folks. Yeah, we all do it. All of us who have made channels have probably done this with the hope that we will get a little bit of extra monthly income by wonderful people like you subscribing, commenting, liking, and watching the adverts. So let's get real. It doesn't need to be said, and it doesn't need to be said with a tone of voice. It is what it is. And I've had a little bit of a saga with YouTube this week. I have been waiting and waiting and waiting for the email to notify me that I'm eligible to apply for the YouTube partnership program. And I was getting a bit frustrated thinking, why is this email not coming? Because as someone had commented, you know, my channel's grown quite quickly, and that's really surprised me. I really didn't expect this sort of growth until December. So I was wondering, where's the email? And it wasn't until earlier this week that I sort of thought, oh, you silly thing. They've emailed your Frugal Granny email address, not your personal email address. So I swapped accounts, went in there, and there were about 4 emails. One from about a week ago saying, hey, you're eligible, would you like to apply? So, I mean, I've pressed through, I've clicked through, and the apply button was greyed out. And I was just like, oh my goodness, what have I done? You know, have I made a big error before I've even started? And it's been quite stressful, that, and I've gone through everything, and in the end it turned out that Frugal Granny account, I needed to verify my age, and I hadn't done that. So I verified my age. I looked and I saw that the two-step verification was in place, and so I thought, well, I don't know what else I have to do, and I was like trawling the internet looking for help videos. And then I was sat in my car last night during my shift break at the supermarket, and I had a sudden brainwave. It's funny how your subconscious sort of churns along in the background. But earlier this week, when I bought that evening dress on Vinted, I couldn't pay for it on my phone. The app would not take the payment. And their help pages said, hey, try it on your PC or your laptop. So I did, and it went through. The pay button was there and the payment went through instantly. So I sat in my car with my phone, and I suddenly thought, what if I try exactly the opposite with YouTube? So I opened YouTube on my phone, and then I remembered that there'd been a pop-up saying, hey, do you want to download YouTube Studio? And I hate putting apps on my phone. So initially I dismissed that. So I thought, well, come on, just do it. So I downloaded YouTube Studio. It then took me through two-step verification for Frugal Granny. So obviously the two-step verification for my personal email hadn't covered Frugal Granny. So now I was two-step verified. And there was something else that I had to do. I can't remember what it was. And then suddenly it just went ping, and it all just sort of went through, and there was this apply button. So I set up the AdSense account, and it said, oh, we'll get back to you in about a month. Well, this morning I've come back from dropping my son off at his university because it's final year project hand-in day, and he had some practical stuff that he needed me to help him transport. Came back here, opened my laptop, and it said, hey, you're in. So I'm in after all that, and I'll be honest with you, yesterday I was that close from deleting everything because I thought, you're a technological idiot. You obviously can't do this. Might as well just delete the whole thing and think of something else. Well, I'm glad to say I held on and it's all gone through. So yes, I am now monetized. I'm not ashamed to say it. I did set up this channel to record my journey, but obviously I also set it up with the hope there would be a little bit of monthly income. I mean, let's get real. That's what people go on YouTube for. So I won't know for a while yet, whether I've got any money. There's absolutely nothing on that tab at the moment, and I doubt very much that the last two wonderful videos that have sparked so much interest will even be included. But I'm just very grateful it's all sorted out. So anyway, that's I think my time is more than up. I can see from my analytics that some of you don't even hang in for more than 10 minutes. So if you've got this far, thank you very much for staying. The thing I was going to talk about today, we'll probably talk about on Saturday now, and I would really quite like to draw a line under the whole, what's she going to do with her pension discussion for the time being. I will be posting the forms to that provider today. I've ticked the box saying I will talk to their annuity provider administrator. I have obviously found a sort of pension that I think will work for my circumstances. I just now need to wait for them to get back in touch with me, have an appointment, discuss this with them, and see whether it's something that the scheme is willing to offer, because I get the impression that there are certain limitations on this scheme. They may say, oh, you can't do that, but I'm going to push because I think that's the way I want to go. But anyway, there we are. It's been an eventful week, quite an emotional one. I'll probably do a potted summary of this on Instagram. I tend to do a Saturday sit and think post on Saturdays, funnily enough. So a lot of this will probably end up in there as well. But anyway, thank you for coming along and hanging in there. And like, subscribe and comment. And if you do have to comment about pensions, please do, but don't expect me to write an essay and reply. And I'll see you again on Saturday. Have a good one. Bye now.